It's the Fear Central Podcast.
Hey there, fellow horror fans. Welcome to the Fear Central Podcast. I am your host, Mike, and joining me this week,
Heather,
Chris,
Joe,
Paul.
All right, so we're all here.
Yay!
Joe's here again.
Joe is here.
All of us are
Making
here?
it
Heather
a
is
repeat.
back.
Yay,
Making it a
Heather!
repeat. Heather's back.
To the
Yeah.
land of the living.
She knocked the coronavirus.
She had the plague.
I was able to leave
the
quarantine.
T-virus.
Yeah, right.
It was flu
You had the
strains
T-virus?
A through H.
It was all of them.
Mm-hmm.
It was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
11 days of...
You got to hang out with the dog and listen to Stephen King audiobooks, though.
That's
I
true.
did.
Yeah. She was on that Andromeda thing. The Andromeda strain.
Michael Crichton?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that movie. I'm sorry.
It was very good.
I like it. I don't know about the... Well, we'll talk about later. The other one. Anyway, so we are back. Season 5. We forgot to mention that last week.
Did
We're
we?
starting Season 5.
Oh.
Yeah. 5 seasons.
We were like... We did Tarantino style. That was actually episode 2 last week.
Oh, yeah. So this is
This
episode
is the
1.
premiere now.
Yeah, premiere now. But if you're interested in figuring out how you can subscribe to us, head on over to fearcentral.net. We are on 13 different ways to subscribe to us, including Apple Podcasts, Google.
Carrier pigeon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Smoke signals.
Smoke
Ouija
signals.
board.
Ouija board.
Ouija board.
That's the best way to get
Not
hold of us.
Ouija board.
I'm sorry, Penny board.
Yeah, generic.
Oh,
That's not
oh.
a Ouija board. It's fine. It's a spirit board.
Right.
Oh, good Lord.
I borrowed it. Doesn't count.
Doesn't count. So, yeah.
The hero we deserve.
All the ways to get a hold of us right over at fearcentral.net. But this week, we are rolling into reboots, remakes. Yeah, those things.
Is that it?
I think so.
You started counting and then
I was
you
counting.
paused.
Yeah. That's as high as I can count, though.
Remotes. Do we want to talk about remotes?
Remotes, like
Replicas?
Robots.
Restitution?
Renal failure.
Rebates?
boneless pork rectums.
Did you say boneless pork rectum?
Yeah.
I thought Chad said deep fakes from that, but
Deep face, what?
deep fakes, yeah.
That would be very topical.
Yeah.
Deep face and boneless pork rectums.
Yeah.
That's a whole different kind of show,
This is a
guys.
video I made on deepfakes of Nicolas Cage and boneless pork rectums.
You're a tasteless asshole. A tasteless asshole.
Not the pork.
But they're better boneless, those rectums.
Yeah. Easier to take.
How many bones do you think are in a rectum? Don't Google how many bones there are in a rectum, Heather.
0
How
is
many
the answer.
bones? I don't know. How many bones are in your rectum?
Definitely don't Google that.
Oh, okay. So, what are we considering a remake? What is a remake? Something I took and I remade it.
It would be updating a film for a new generation.
Okay.
Whether that's taking out plot devices that worked in the original era that it was filmed in, or being stupid and just filming it shot for shot because you don't think people want to watch black and white movies.
Right.
Those are the worst.
Because I've always had kind of that. What's the classifying definition between the two? A rebate, and a reboot. I can't talk today. A reboot.
Where you don't spend as much money as you thought you would.
Well, no, where you get some of that
remake.
money back.
So to me, I think a reboot is taking the traditional story, giving it a little bit of modernization, and then putting it out. And a remake is where you take the premise of what it was, but you don't really follow what the original thing was. You just take advantage of the fact that everybody already knows about
the
it.
Reboot.
Remake. The reboot.
Well, the
would be,
reboot will be where you make it your own.
See, I would think that would be the remake. Because I'm taking it and I'm remaking it into what I want it to be. Rebooting is, okay, now instead of Jack Nicholson, I've got somebody younger that kind of looks like him and putting him into Shining.
I always thought that I would always go for the classification of remake is sticking closer to the plot, because the reboots are where you're taking the original core concept and then running with it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on.
Okay.
Okay. So, remakes.
So what's a bad example of a remake?
A bad example of a remake?
Yes. I got one.
Okay.
1999's The Haunting. That was Jan de Bont deciding that he needed to remake the 63, 64 black and white one because they had
Jones?
Yes.
Lily Taylor, Owen Wilson, Liam Neeson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, see, I liked that one. I liked both versions, but out of like the newer one, I like the newer one.
Okay. I'll listen to your case for it.
Yeah.
Objection.
Tell me how great the CGI baby heads on the furniture was.
Those furniture baby heads.
Okay,
furniture
with the
baby heads.
exception of the furniture babies, but I think the storytelling was a little bit. The house was a little bit better.
You talking specifically about the way the house was filmed?
Yes,
Okay.
the angles of the first one is just like a play on it, but I really liked the second house better.
Yeah. I'm a super big fan of the book, and the book is all about subtlety.
Yeah.
So
Which is where the original kind of was. You know, you had the big bangs and knowing what it was. And
yeah.
It was too much like, walking through a haunted house, and that's all it was banging noise and
Yeah.
shadow.
But see, the other one that came out that year, I actually preferred the remake.
Haunting of Hill or House on Haunted Hill.
Yes.
Yeah,
That
Yeah.
one with Famke Jensen. And
I like that one.
that one was good too.
That one really had no. I mean, as much as I love the Vincent Price
Right.
House on Haunted Hill, I really do. But it is all cheese.
Very much so.
It's William Castle.
yeah.
It's just like leaning heavy in. Whenever they put it on the screen, they had skeletons going through the theater to scare all the people in the
Yeah.
seats.
Yeah,
and all
but you
that.
got to think of the time era back then. That would have freaked somebody out. Now that wouldn't have phased it.
Well, no,
a 5-year-old.
Sure. But
So
I mean, it still was played for spooky laughs.
well, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
'cause-
like, who could be next? It could be you.
Right.
The end.
Yeah.
Yeah. it was a little cheesier with just the, dime store skeleton in the closet.
And I'm
Right,
not-
exactly.
And I'm not going to say the remake was immune from cheesiness.
No,
Oh,
it
no,
wasn't.
no.
Jeffrey Rush is delightfully over the top in that movie.
Yes. But the scare factor, I think, it was
Funky
a little bit
old
better
house.
with the
Yeah, but he had really big shoes to fill.
Mm-hmm.
Really big shoes.
And they
Really
renamed
big
his
shoe?
character to Mr. Price.
Yeah. that was a little.
yeah.
They were leaning heavy.
I mean, come on. It's Vincent Price he's got to live up to. There's no.
That was a fun movie. Both of them are fun movies.
Yeah.
So I actually consider that a pretty good remake.
Yeah.
I like both of them.
Right.
I
Let's see, a bad example of a reboot, in my opinion, was when they rebooted Hellraiser, and they made Pinhead not even look like Pinhead. He had spikes, like he came out of 13 Ghosts or something.
So which one is that?
Not the last one, but the one just before that. In
Is it
09?
Revelations?
I think it might have been.
Okay, I guess I didn't watch that one
Yeah,
at all.
you didn't miss anything. 'Cause
I wish I
did.
had missed Judgment.
Yeah.
I think I did miss half a judgment.
You left halfway through
I did. I left halfway through.
and still missed it. Or didn't miss it. Yeah.
Okay.
But, they went into it and tried to kind of follow the first story, but didn't do it quite well. And then they made Pinhead look more like the Spike guy in 13 Ghosts. He had huge spikes instead of the little pins. And it was just...
Here's the question. I think this is the question for the table for going forward. Because if we're going to be like giving recommendations to the audience and everything, it's kind of good to admit biases. If there's a movie you like, are you going to be receptive to a remake?
Why is everybody looking at me?
Heather.
He's looking at you.
Well,
because you were gone, so now you're back.
For clockwise. Yeah, everybody.
Well, not necessarily, because I thoroughly enjoy the Crazies reboot, remake, however you want to define that one.
Mm-hmm.
Timothy Olyphant is amazing.
But when you heard you like the original then?
I've seen some of it, but not all of it.
What is a movie you really like that's been remade?
That I like?
Yes.
A remake that I like?
No. What's an original that has been remade? Which that you like?
Well, Friday the 13th, Hellraiser, Nightmare on Elm Street. There's a lot of them, Poltergeist.
Do you like any of the remakes of any of these movies you're mentioning?
Well, I didn't watch the Poltergeist one because when you come off and say we've changed the little girl's name, then no, it's not even the same movie. Stop it.
I think that
if it's no longer Carol Ann, then. But I did watch the Friday the 13th one just to give it a chance.
Okay.
And I was a little disappointed because in this one they made him less land shark and more serial killer. I've got tunnels under the camp, and I've got prisoners.
Well, it seemed like that one was more of a remake, reboot of 2 on. It wasn't necessarily...
It was the first 2 movies kind of mashed together, is what I remember.
Maybe it was more about,
No, it was more 2 and 3 mashed together.
It seemed to be...
Well, they had the prologue, I guess, was supposed to be the first.
Well, I mean, they always got to cram the prologue because just like the Wayne family getting murdered.
The mother was in there, right?
Very little.
Yeah,
I thought I remembered her being in the prologue.
I think she was screaming at him the whole time, but they started doing that in later chapters anyway.
And then you had Jared Padalecki coming in and playing the guy from part 4, part 6, where he's hunting Jason down.
Yeah.
Because his sister never came home.
Well, with that one, it's like, I just liked how it's kind of like the Halloween remake with the Friday the 13th. It seemed to be kind of a... If you don't want to watch the last 5 or 6 of them, here's kind of the greatest
That's
hits.
not a Halloween remake.
Or the reboot.
There you go.
That's a reboot. Yeah.
Halloween 2018.
There we go. That's where we get into
that's
some
the
awful...
official
Was it 18
title.
or 19? Was it 18 or 19?
18.
Was it 18? Okay.
But yeah.
Halloween, Jamie Lee Strikes Back.
Yeah. But see, I thoroughly enjoyed that one because they took the premise of the original and changed it to just a later time.
I just
and
think
reversed
the
roles
though,
almost.
Really, more than anything.
Well, it's supposed to be a direct sequel to the first one.
I guess it's a reboot of Halloween 2.
Well, that's what a lot of them are doing now. It's like just like what they wanted to do with Terminator and other films. Is this is the true part 2 or part 3 of a series that have been going on? It's like 8 or 9.
But
sequels.
See, those I consider to be reboots because you're taking the original concept, updating it for today in order to carry it on for the next generation.
Yeah.
Because you've got the new Ghostbusters coming out, is the grandkids of the original Ghostbusters.
I'll go.
And it's supposed to reboot it to carry it on for the next generation.
Right.
That's what I consider a reboot.
I can't wait.
A remake would have been the female Ghostbusters.
I can't wait for the next reboot of the next female Ghostbusters.
But see, they're already talking about doing another Friday the 13th reboot. And I think they're trying to do it more closely to the earlier ones than the 2009 one.
Yeah. I mean, that's like this, just like comparing apples to oranges, but just when a lot of them, when they start doing stuff like that, is like, so why I like the Friday the 13th. It wasn't spectacular, but it was just like, it was trying to hit all the beats of some of the other ones that, just like, well, other than just a few choice scenes, it wasn't really it didn't make a movie, but it's just like this one set piece they included in that compact format.
I guess I have to add that this is not a new thing.
No.
Hollywood's been doing this for who knows how long.
Well, I mean,
because you can imagine what, our parents or whatever were
what
when the 1980s The Blob came out.
There you go.
what was
trying
up
to
for
race
Best
me.
Picture this year? Little Women.
It's the 57th version of that story.
Well, it's the third version that was nominated for all these Oscars.
Yeah. But, people they grew up in the 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, and they started making, like, The Blob in 88 or whatever. To them, that was probably a horrible thing, but for us that had never seen the original Blob, and when we were 15, went, that's a damn good movie.
Well, I mean, I
understand that's what they're trying to do with
I do like the 80s Blob.
Yeah, now that you mention it, that'd be on my list of good ones, but...
Right. But then you go back and you grew up with the Steve McQueen one, and you're like, wait, no, he had no motorcycle, and he had no, this and
Well, I can make the case for both of them. For the simple fact, whenever it comes to the 80s Blob, that one did things that the original couldn't. Right. I mean, the era it was made, it couldn't be as dire as it was. Because I'll be honest, the concept of killer jello is just not that scary.
Not really.
But whenever you get to the sort of digestion scene, and like the way it's shot is so oppressive.
Yeah.
Like the guy stuck in the guy that's stuck in the phone booth, the way it was redone for that 80s version, that is horrifying. And killing who you expected to be the hero off screen.
Yeah.
And back to what you were saying earlier is I like that in the 90s, 2000s, they're all about modernizing everything. Cell phones and technology. I like that the more recent trend is going back and instead of doing that is they almost make them period pieces. Mm-hmm. They're more fitting to the original source material. So,
going back and talking about, like you were saying with The Haunting, House on Haunted Hill, I think a really good remake was 1982's The Thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that one had reverence for the material, but it also understood that the original didn't like faithfully adapt the book.
Right.
So it did, which I can never remember the title of that. Like it is.
I don't remember the name of the book.
Several words long.
One thing I saw while doing my research was that one way to look at it is reboots are usually franchised and remakes are usually single movies.
Oh, yes. Since you brought that up, one that I would have to say as far as a terrible one, I know this is sacrilegious to some, I didn't much care for any of the modern Mummy movies. Christopher Lee, I think even the Christopher Lee was a remake.
Yeah,
but that was a good remake.
Karloff was the original.
Well, Karloff's the original, but even the Christopher Lee ones, those the Hammer films, they were pretty good. I mean, it was like they're doing their own thing, but it was something going for them. But they're just trying to make it a product during when the Brendan Fraser era. It's like a lot of people like him, and it's like I can see that, and it's like, but
I don't think
they try to remake that again. It was a big failure because they're supposed to carry off the Dark Universe and all these different movies. And like I said, the franchise
that one is
kind of.
But see, that case is interesting because every time anybody talks bad about the Tom Cruise Mummy, they always say, "I like the original with Brendan Fraser."
Yeah,
and you go,
that is.
See, I don't think they were trying to necessarily
so bad.
reboot or remake the Mummy when it came to Fraser because it wasn't.
Yeah,
I'd call that a reboot. Is what I'd call that
because
that would turn franchisable. Where
they're
releasing the Invisible Man.
Yeah,
this week
there's a new Universal Dark Invisible Man.
The Dooku.
Well, isn't that
the what?
The Universal Dark Universe. The Dooku.
The Dooku.
He likes the Dooku in his ear.
You Dooku?
Yeah.
Don't Dooku on my stuff. Anyway.
Oh my god.
all the Christopher Lee references tonight?
I know. Dooku.
Count them. Count the Dooku.
Well, we got these two over here. Not really.
You're a Saruman.
Saruman?
I don't play Pokemon games.
Saruman.
Yes.
Hi.
Yes.
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 Moving on.
Moving on. Your turn.
Your turn.
Okay, so a movie you enjoyed that has been remade, whether you like the remake or not.
Last House on the Left.
Okay.
Okay.
The original was fantastic.
It was. The remake was okay. I mean, it wasn't terrible.
The remake had one. It had one great casting choice, but it was almost point. Like it's almost like too obvious. Garrett Hedlund or whatever his name is, that was in Raising Hope and Deadwood and all that. Because like in Raising Hope is like the sweetest character he's ever played, and then he's just evil buttholes through the whole rest of his career.
Right.
But I don't think that. I think they scaled it back some on that one compared to the original. Like the original had so
The
much more
opening
visceral,
scene.
stuff going on than what they showed in.
And I heard kind of the payoff wasn't as dynamic with
don't
the parents and the.
So what I really don't remember on the remake is if it had the tonal shifts that the original
I don't
has.
think it did. I didn't
No.
say it was a good one. You just asked me for one.
Yeah,
Absolutely, but-
I mean, like, I'm not. I get why people like the movie. It's
The
just
last scene
it just
in the
goes
movie is
from
my
rape
favorite.
scene to bumbling slapstick comedy with the sheriffs, and it's
Yeah.
like. You need to give me a minute, movie.
Yeah.
I don't need this chicken truck scene.
But you have to remember, it's only a movie. It's only a movie. It's only a
I want to
movie.
recut the trailer with all the chicken truck scene. You get in the back with the chickens.
Sweet Jesus.
What? That's the theme.
I know.
You think about ones that have been rehashed over and over. Texas Chainsaw. How many reboots are they going to do of it?
I don't think I saw the last one, but the one that was like Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah.
Like, me and Paul watched that one.
That was 3D.
Was that the 3D one
Go
or the
get
last
it,
one?
cuz.
We're
was
going
like-
to Grandma's house. What? That's
Yeah.
not even.
It was.
Get him, cuz.
It was an interesting take that the.
The cops were the bad guys,
Yeah, like
and
the-
Leatherface was the hero.
That was hard to take, but of course the Texas Chainsaw, the reboots remakes with Arlie Ermy, that they weren't that good, but they at least had a little bit of. They were having fun.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
just-
I mean, they initially tried to reboot it with the next generation.
Yeah,
Matthew McConaughey and
Renee
He
Zellweger.
wasn't in that movie.
was he? I thought it was in that one.
No, he'll tell you he wasn't in that movie.
Oh,
That's the
is
reason
it?
they can't put him on the poster.
Oh yeah.
No, I passed on that one.
But that was him and
He wasn't in there with a pneumatic leg.
It was Renee Zellweger.
was it Renee Zellweger?
Jessica Biel.
Was it just
No,
no? That's
The
2003.
one with McConaughey
The Next
does
Generation.
have Renee Zellweger.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But you're right about the one. That was the one I was talking about. That one that you was talking about. Those two I actually
That was
liked.
that was the
okay.
second time they tried to do it
I
because it
think
was
so.
Next Generation, and then they kind of
Yeah.
2003 one with Jessica Biel, and then they did another one 3D, and then they did another one, and
Because I think the one in 3D was supposed to go back to the original timeline or something. It just
yeah, I don't know.
Well, we had House of Wax mentioned back there, which of course the Vincent Price one was already a remake because
Yes.
it was Palace of Wax back in the 20s or something like that.
The best part's whenever what's her face gets impaled.
Paris Hilton.
Yeah,
But
Paris Hilton.
I think everybody watched it to see Paris
But
die.
it's so strange because that one's a remake of Tourist Trap.
yeah.
yeah, not House of Wax.
Yeah,
'Cause
but they called
I
it
started
that.
watching it. I'm like, the plot of this is like I had seen Tourist Trap the previous year, I think, and I was sitting there going, wait, the title's wrong here.
Yeah, and I've heard that before that it's more Tourist Trap than House of Wax.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Don't talk to me. I'm pissed at you. You took mine.
No, I didn't.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's one you enjoyed. That
I liked the original. I didn't so much care for the remake.
I was just trying to see if there. I was trying to see like around the table if there are like ones that you like the original and you also like the remake.
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
You know what? I'll give you that one. That one's pretty good.
Night of the Living Dead for me.
I
I actually thought that the remake reboot was stronger.
Yeah, you really
Yeah.
liked
The one with Tony Todd?
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that one, because I just watched that one recently. the
Yeah,
first time.
you really liked that they made the heroine stronger in that
Yeah,
one.
I mean, it
Because
worked.
she didn't have a lot to do in the original.
No. Sat on the couch and screamed a lot.
Yeah.
She was sad, and then
You're drunk!
stop it, Johnny, stop it.
There's one now.
But Johnny's dead!
I don't know. That was the extent of her lines, I believe.
Pretty much, yeah.
But yeah, the
One where I enjoyed both. I got a thing on that.
I didn't see the new
Oh,
Child's
I got
Play.
one for you.
Hmm.
The Thing.
Yeah.
Can't say I sat and watched the entire original thing from outer space, but,
I have. It's awesome.
It's good.
but they're always
But yes.
opening doors in that one. And sure
Yeah.
enough, damn it, you know that he's going to be behind
Seems
it
like
once.
everybody's okay with House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah.
I didn't expect. So, if we're talking like the reason I brought it up is bias. Because if I'm honest, when I heard they were remaking this one, I hated it, and I resisted watching it for about 5 years, and I finally watched it. And I'm like, okay, the remake's got some points. The Ring.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't expect to like that remake at all.
Right.
Versus Ring versus Ringu, or
They're both technically the Ring.
yeah,
They call it Ringu because for clarity's sake, but it's honestly like it's a whole bunch of white people trying to do a Japanese accent. Ring,
well, Ringu is the one that was in Japan, right?
right?
Yeah,
And
That's the reason
I gotta
it's
say
called
that the Ringu version is a little bit creepier in the hospital than the American version. I'm sorry.
I prefer the original, but
There you go.
But there were moments. It took one of the best things about the sequel, which the original sequel, the Ring 2 from Japan. Mm-hmm. I hate that movie. Like, it didn't do anything for me.
Why?
It got so overblown with like, this is what everything means from the video. and
Oh,
all
yeah.
that.
I can see that.
oh, so they,
Yeah.
they nitpicked it.
Pretty much.
Oh,
Pretty
yeah.
much.
We don't need the super explanation.
The American version did one thing that the Japanese version didn't do at all, and I thought it was really cool. Is whatever it got to the lifting the curse not working, they just revealed that the little girl was flat out evil from the get go.
Yeah.
Which the Japanese version doesn't do.
No, they don't.
And I was like, that's far more unnerving. Okay.
Yeah.
But yes, the scene where she's coming out of the TV is still like masterclass to me on the Japanese
with
version.
the audio,
Yeah.
the sound design, it was amazing.
Yeah. Well, let's see. This is what now this kind of the second rendition of The Grudge that just came out, because he had the Japanese version.
And I guess it's the first version that didn't have the original director involved.
So the original director was involved in the Sarah
In all
Michelle
8
Gellar.
of the other Grudge
Oh, okay.
movies, including the remakes. Takashi Shimizu.
Yeah,
Can't gripe too much if it's one guy doing all of them.
true. Which I think why the Halloween reboot or sequel works so well, because you did have John Carpenter producing and being fully involved in how it was.
And that's also another thing too, is with Clive Barker, is that a lot of people, well, I'm included, loved his books, and they did the screenplay and directing of his the film adaptations, and a lot of them were quite different, but
Yeah.
it was his take on it. He
Right.
said, well, I want to focus more on the girl, or I want to do this and do that. So for the most part, they came out pretty good, because they have tap into different elements of his own story.
Yeah.
Right. Because I was kind of that way with the Midnight Meat Train. I was like, this really isn't how the short story goes, but I mean, it works, but
Yeah.
it's not.
Honestly, my favorite Clive Barker movie, just flat out all the way around, is Lord of Illusions.
Yeah.
Midnight Meat Train.
I like Midnight Meat Train, but Lord of Illusions is more my jam.
I'm more in Cabal.
Yeah, that's
Ooh, that one's good.
That's amazing.
And I actually like the director's edit better than the theatrical.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Heather's sitting
Minus
there like just
The
zoned
added
out.
footage of her singing in the bar. I didn't care. That,
Heather, what's yours?
It's a lot like Caligula and Metropolis and a couple other random movies where I've heard that there's more footage kind of floating out there they wanted to be in his master cut, but it just doesn't exist at this point as far as finding it and putting it back in. So I'd love to see a master cut of Cabal.
so I posed this question: what is a good amount of time?
She just is like disgusted with you already.
No,
Sorry.
she's looking at something on her phone, but it was great timing.
Cooper burped.
Yeah.
In my
Yeah.
ear.
And it floated this way.
And here and there and everywhere.
So
Anyway.
Cabal for you guys,
Right, which would be Nightbreed.
Nightbreed.
right? Your Lord of Illusion.
Yeah.
I have to say Candyman.
Candyman,
Oh.
which is another one that's about to
That one's a good one.
reboot.
See, Candyman.
That's a good one.
That's a very good one.
Yeah,
I'm not against the remake though.
I'm not
No?
either, especially
Especially
if
with
it's Tony Todd.
Tony
Yes.
Todd reprising.
I
So.
would have been fine even without. I'm gonna be honest.
No.
Well, I'd have been okay with it if Tony
Come
Todd
on.
was
No.
consulting the person doing it. Where
No.
when they started doing the Hellraisers after Hellworld,
As long
they
as
stopped bringing, or they didn't even talk to Doug about coming in and at least consulting the guy on this is how I did it and this is, where the motivation comes from to be Pinhead. They just didn't even ask him.
So as much as I like Candyman, there's room for improvement.
Oh yeah,
Oh, definitely.
Like the opening is very over the top with Ted Raimi on the date and
Yeah.
all that.
What? Him over the top.
well even the opening of
there's some
two is over the top.
There's some pacing things around the middle
Yeah.
during the investigation phase, but it is very solid.
Yeah.
But I guess I've given up. When it comes to adaptations and remakes,
Yeah.
because I get to a point now where I'm like, oh, they're adapting this, and I just go, well, I hope it's not terrible.
Yeah, which is where my question was leading.
I think I was having this discussion with somebody recently. We were talking about like books being adapted and everything, and like when The Lovely Bones got announced. I know this is off topic, but I was just like, that's not going to be that book. Like that movie is not going to be that movie is not going to be that book.
No,
and
It was better.
it's yeah. If you like to take away half the characters,
yeah. But see, that's where I was going was, what do you think is a good time period in order to bridge the generational gap to bring these back out?
I'd say a good stretch of time because a lot of times they bring them out like 10 years later, 20 years later, and it's like kind of let it breathe a little bit and come to the table with something
new,
interesting. So new take, a new way to shoot it, a new concept of the.
Right, but you think of it like this though. Friday the 13th, 2009 was 29 years after the original. 39.
The original,
29.
not
Original came out in 1980.
Okay.
90, 2000. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Almost 30
Well,
years.
that's a good argument against that. So,
but how long was it since Freddy versus Jason or Jason Goes to Hell?
well, I mean, it was technically a remake of the first one or a reboot or
no,
whatever.
it wasn't.
Well, it's supposed to be.
Well, I mean, it was using that as the baseline, supposedly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what you're talking about. It's like it's not about the sequels and continuing, about them starting back
Right.
fresh.
Right. To bring the next generation into the fold. But then you still have those of us that we remember the original and going, what? What are you doing?
Yeah.
So,
I'll be
when's a good amount of time for that to happen? I mean, is it?
Not a year.
No.
So I really think there's a sliding scale when it comes to remakes for me, because shot for shot I can't stand. If it doesn't change anything, I don't understand the point of a remake.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get why you're doing it, except it's a cash grab. You're able to produce something new, give a whole bunch of people jobs, and try to make money at the box office and video sales. That's all I see that as.
But see, for me, I would almost prefer that with the modernization. So let's, for example, Maximum Overdrive. If they were to do that today,
it cannot be remade. That's the perfect film.
We made you. Cannot be,
you can't do this to us. We made you.
Right? But if they were to do that today, not really change much of the script, but changed how, with the today's CGI and today's technology, how the machines worked, how fluid they could be now, and
well,
stuff.
that kind of goes along with how they try to do somewhat Child's Play. Well, is they try to have a different angle on it and try to...
Well,
right, they made them animatronic or whatever.
Yeah, but try to do a fresh take on it. But I hadn't seen it. I want to, but I'm doubtful.
I'm fine with fresh takes. Like, I am... If you can surprise me with it and make it good, go for it. Like, I have certain movies that are like that I really, really like, but no remake is going to stand in the way of my enjoying the original.
Right.
So
it's a good way to look at it, yeah. Because
like there are certain things that if they put out a terrible version, The Wicker Man with Nicolas Cage.
Okay.
If they put a terrible version out,
That's so bad.
that pays no reverence to the original, it does irritate me because that one is far more popular than the original.
Right.
So people think of that when you say the name The Wicker Man. You're like, what are some horror movies you like? Oh, I really like The Wicker Man. With the bear suit? And all the women hating? No.
And the bar scene?
Is it the barmaid?
Wasn't that the barkeeper's daughter?
Well, that's the original. Yes, that's
that's the original. That's the good version.
Yes.
But then you know, with that example, you're a big Argento fan, and you said you did enjoy the new Suspiria.
The new Suspiria, it was a completely different beast. It made me misty.
Did it?
It really, like, I was very surprised in how well written the characters are in that new movie.
But that was the rub about that one, too, is it was not only a remake of Suspiria, it also had plot elements from the other two films of that
from
run.
Inferno, yeah.
And the other one...
Not as much from other tiers.
But it kind of had that...
It talked about it.
It talked about it, and then it also kind of paid homage to the detective films that he was famous for.
Giallo.
Right.
So it was like... It kind of had a lot of elements, but I think it really worked very well.
Now, Argento himself hates it.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't understand why you made this movie. This is not my movie or at all. And
yeah.
Well, no. Like Luca, I cannot say his last name, the director of Call Me By Your Name. He's the guy that directed. He's the guy that made Suspiria's remake,
right.
And he flat out said, "No, I've seen the original Suspiria. Like, people that want to can watch the original. I'm not going to just remake that the same movie or whatever."
It came out very strong because of it, an homage, and
he made it a political sociodrama as a horror movie. It's just,
and that's what they do a lot of times, because this is going away from the horror genre per se, but
indie directors do. Hollywood directors don't.
But I forgot the name of the film. Keanu Reeves was in it. Jennifer Connelly.
Walk in the Clouds.
Day the Earth Stood
Still.
Which was the third remake of that one?
Was
Second
it?
remake?
You okay there?
Did someone kick you?
I think they made an 80s version also. But
that was me being uncertain. When I'm uncertain, I go squeaky.
Yeah,
where the original was all nuclear and atomic weapons and stuff like that, and then Keanu Reeves and Jennifer Connelly's version is more ozone layer pollution kind of.
Yeah.
So I do see in a sense where you want to take those films, and because they've already got their popularity and their knowability, but you're going to put today's emphasis into it.
Well, if we're going to deal with sci-fi horror, the elephant in the room when talking about remakes is the most pointlessly remade movie to me is the Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
I was going.
It's like-
I was just about to
like 4 or 5 of those,
interject
right?
that, saying that was one of my favorites.
Well, that one of them is. What about the other 4 or 5 remakes?
Well, I'm talking about
Or the ones that aren't even called that, but are the same
But maybe
thing.
you had one called The Invasion or something. It was
Yeah,
that
Invasion was the
But-
last one with
but-
Daniel Craig.
But I'm
and
talking
Nicole
about
Kidman.
like the original one and then the
They
one
have a
in the
new
80s.
Invasion coming out
Yep.
this year.
So when I talk
It
about it,
hasn't
to
even
me,
been that long since
it's
last.
the original and then the one in the
2007.
80s with Nimoy and
Jeff Goldblum. Are you talking about the
original
the actress?
or the
The original
She's
is
talking about,
56.
he's talking about the 70s.
oh the
one.
70s
Oh,
version?
that's
Okay,
Donald
with Leonard
Sutherland.
Nimoy.
Donald
Donald
Sutherland.
Yeah,
Sutherland.
There we go.
Jeff Goldblum.
And,
those
what's
are
her
the
name
two that
from
I point
Alien
to
and
as
all
far as a
that?
good.
The one who the survivor.
Brooke Adams, Veronica
No.
Cartwright.
There you go,
Cartwright.
Veronica
There you go.
Cartwright, right there. She's been in so many movies.
Yes.
I was having a discussion with one of my staff about that movie, and she remembered it completely flip flopped.
Really?
Yeah, like Donald Sutherland was the survivor at the end, and I'm like,
No.
So you said those two. That one was fine, but the other ones were pointless. Or just all of them were pointless after the original.
Nicole
When I didn't
Kidman
care
wasn't
much
too
as
bad.
a teenager, I was okay with the Gabriel Anwar version, but it may have had more to do with the bath scene than anything.
Surprise, surprise.
You know. I know she's very quiet over there.
Taking it all in. Maybe if I ask a question. Yes.
Question
You were
away.
gonna ask a
You were going to
question.
ask a question. You said,
Ask a question.
Well, just the question of the room. Was there one?
well, we've already passed that a few times.
Yeah,
There was a question in the room?
apparently.
The room had a question. What was your question, room? He doesn't know.
How's your sex life?
Oh,
Well, another one.
That's a different type of show.
viciousness.
No, it's the room.
Another one that I think is going to spark a
What a
conversation. Amityville.
Amityville.
I remember watching most of the Ryan Reynolds,
The remake.
the remake, and I just really like the original one quite a bit.
Nope.
It wasn't perfect, but it just hit a lot of fun. You know, it hit the right marks for me. James Brolin was amazing in that, with his love for mortgages, even over his own family. But I heard that the remake touched more on the official story.
That was air quotes, people. Air quotes.
Air
It did.
quotes. But the
You
official
need to do it more
story
violently so
that
the mic picks
the
it up.
family was talking about in the book, and I haven't really explored that too much. But basically, that was like it was the remake was kind of questionable, but it kind of was more about more of the topics that were touched on in the official.
Amityville
account.
2,
Official.
the possession.
No, not the dollhouse.
Well, see,
didn't say that.
I'm curious to know. They kind of touched on it in Conjuring 2, but if they actually took the Warren side of it and brought that into the Conjuring universe, how much different it would be from the 70s version.
Probably a lot.
because it spends the original and I hate Amityville, just in case anybody didn't know that. The original is more supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
The remake is more psychological in the way that he's going crazy, and it's more about him. Yeah. And the reboot newest crap Awakening, it was just bad.
Yeah, to me, that was more like that Patrick movie.
We're just
going to
move in a house. It was like Patrick.
Patrick Awakes or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because it was more like a guy in a bed and he's all possessed by the house, but it's all focused on him and not the house.
Yeah.
You know, and I've heard people say that the book versus the movie. In the book, the dog never went in the basement, and in the movie, he stayed nowhere but the basement.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even there you have your differences of
Probably made for better shooting.
probably, what are we going to do with the dog? I don't know. He never went in the basement in the book. Well, let's put him in the basement all the time, scratching at the wall.
We'll just say we forgot. We just say, I remember something about the basement and the dog.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah.
We're all distracted by the cooking channel.
Woohoo! Cooking channel. That's some
come on,
scary stuff right there.
Man, fire, food.
So, okay, so if there's one that you would like to see brought
Remade?
out, either rebooted or remade, what would be one you would enjoy? Not that one, Cooper.
What if they remade Alien with today's CGI?
Well, I think that's why we brought in Prometheus and Alien Covenant.
No,
Predator,
Alien.
They already remade it.
Predator.
Predator?
They did that in the newest.
The newest Predator? It's kind of a reboot, yeah.
Kind of a reboot, but I hope they don't go any forward with that.
I mean, it wasn't Arnold, but
No.
because I hear they're rebooting A Nightmare on Elm Street again. It's in pre-production. And it's supposed to mesh the original 1984 and the 2010.
Cooper doesn't like that either.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I saw a meme on Facebook today.
Mm-hmm.
It was I'm trying to remember what it was. It was like somebody posting saying that had a nightmare last night that Freddy Krueger was chasing me through my house and then saw my dog and stopped and pet him with the razor knife. So he was like, "That's a good doggy." And I thought, "Oh," and he's like, "Well, it's not his nightmare. He's a good boy." And like the comment above it was, "Aw, Freddy's always been my favy," and I'm like.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's just no.
He's like he wisecracked a little too much, and I think it made people endeared to the child pedophile murderer.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So like I get what that remake did. Like I really get what that remake did. And like if you watch the original, he doesn't wisecrack that much. And it's all the more intense for it
He's
because
a man
like
on mission.
gets to the sequels and then it's
There's
like
two films he's in where he doesn't wisecrack a whole lot. The original
A New Nightmare.
and New Nightmare.
Which
Both
is
the Wes Cravens.
Probably one of my favorites was The New Nightmare.
Yep.
It was,
All the others were not Wes Craven, so therefore he's like, oh, well, he says bitch a lot and throws you into a TV and, whatever.
yeah.
Well, until I can think of something better, I've already talked about this during what was it, Bird Box?
Bird Box?
Yeah, I think The Happening should get a remake.
You think it's happening?
Not a great movie.
No.
Not a great movie.
It had some good points.
But the core plot, like if you watch what the movie is, because everybody's like the movie where the trees might try to make people kill themselves. That's not what the actual plot is.
No, it's not. Okay.
It's not explained well.
It took me
it's
a
not.
minute to remember which one The Happening was.
As long as we get Zooey back.
Oh, God, no, getting no one back.
We gotta have the Wally Bird.
No.
What?
I like Wahlberg.
No.
Keep him away.
No, ma'am.
I will watch that movie to be entertained sometimes, but no. I want to see it. I want to see that handled as a serious subject matter because it really didn't come off that way.
Can we EXO the wife in it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
Can she be the lawnmower scene?
That would be amazing.
Okay, so The Happening.
I'm sure there are others.
As far as something that would work for a series, it just had to be handled right. What we mentioned before, Cabal. I would love to see an expanded universe of that.
I actually had ideas for that after I read the book.
The comics have a lot of off the wall storylines.
Yeah.
Because it went on for like 36 issues or something like that.
Right. Well, there again, just like with Hellbound Heart, I mean, you've got the box. You can have any story you want with it.
Yeah.
As long as you're main focal point is the Cenobites.
I really do like Clive Barker's acceptance of what people do with his core concepts.
Yeah.
He's just like, I release it to the world. It's all everybody's story now.
Yeah. And King is kind of the same way. Because he's like, you want to make a fan film? Go ahead.
Not you, Kubrick.
No, not you, Kubrick. You can't make a fan film, Kubrick, but everybody else, you're okay. Make a fan film.
One that I would kind of dread seeing a remake or a show or anything. It really worked off of the actors, and it had to be somebody who just really fantastically handled acting, directing, writing. Would be Phantasm. And I don't know if it's that hot a property for them to try to get on to remake, but that'd just be, I wouldn't be against the idea, but it'd have to be somebody, this would be a super talented team, because they create a great series of movies with very little.
Yeah.
It was just great acting, great production design, great just them doing their thing and having a good time with it, and it's shown in the product.
It is. Yeah. The sequels get really complex.
Yeah,
they do.
Almost a little too much for me, I'll be honest. But the original I really like.
Great, probably one of the best scores in horror film was the Phantasm theme.
I know they tried to do it, and I've seen the trailer to it, and it doesn't look right, but I'd like to see a really good Puppet Masters.
Yes. Because that first one was
and
amazing.
Supposedly Blade's getting his own film by himself now or something.
Yeah.
But then the new one, kind of like with the new Child's Play, he looks all animatronic and digital. And
because to me, just the magic is the puppeteering and the practical effects.
Yes.
And just because it's just saying, they're puppets and miniatures and all this stuff, but it's there.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just a magic that hadn't been duplicated with computer technology to my liking.
Yeah. But I think if they took that original story and updated it without pulling in too much CG and leaving a lot of the practical in there, I think it would work real well. And I love that score.
Definitely. I mean, that first movie was fantastic.
Yes.
I mean, I've only seen 3 more after that, but and I still liked them. But I mean, that first one was just very notable.
Yeah.
To me.
What?
I don't know. You're staring over here.
Your thoughts on Toulon?
Just they can't remake the one with the Corey. That was a bad one.
Well, if it's bad, there's room for improvement.
It's true.
That's my
A terrible
idea.
one that you could remake would be Sleepwalkers.
Yeah.
You mean Mark Hamill's best film? As a cop with a mustache?
Something like that.
In the beginning? That was one that I just didn't care for at all. I mean, I like King even at... I can't say it's worse, but just,
we talked about it last episode, and like that cast is good.
Yeah.
It's a good cast.
Is good.
Yeah.
That's a yucky movie.
Because we also talked, I think another one, if you're going to go with King stuff, Tommyknockers would be a really good one.
Oh, absolutely.
There'd be potential in remaking that.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any potential in trying to remake the Langoliers.
But that's just that's the squirrely bit about King is that sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. But when you read the books, he doesn't take himself that seriously.
Right.
He's having a good time. He's talk about where does all this fantastic, horrible stuff come from? He said, I read EC Comics, Tales from the Crypt, all the different variations of it, and those were quirky, dark, fun stories, and and when you read that, you definitely see that while he's writing it, he has this big smile on his face, writing this, and it's like haha, this is great, he's having a good time. That's how you should read it. And then when somebody gets a hold of it, just like with the new Pennywise films, it's like they were good, but they did take themselves way too seriously, and it suffered greatly because of it. Because you need this over the Tim Curry ones. It had the sense of King's purpose.
Yeah,
I mean, even if they were a little bit over the top in places, well, I mean that's what the way King wrote it.
Yeah,
to be fun but dark.
Yeah,
and but it's just it's really. I liked a lot of the recent King adaptations, and they were played pretty dark and pretty serious. But even Gerald's Game, which is one that it's a high one on my list of recent ones. But even that one got very silly at the end.
Did it?
With the Tooth Man or the Boogeyman,
The giant.
and it was and yeah, it had a serious punch at the end of it. But it was, when you looked at it, it's like you couldn't take it too seriously.
They just called him Death in the movie.
Yeah, but it was, it had all these serious elements, but then you have someone in there that's kind of like, this shouldn't be here. This creeping me out, but because that's how you probably be in real life. It's like, should I be upset about this? Should I be worried about this? Because it's a big grinning giant at the end of the hallway.
I mean, we're kind of skewing into adaptation here, but you were talking about King adaptations being a little too serious for their own good. I'll say that made me actually think about like a King film. I think has the right tone. 1408 is my favorite adaptation. I think
like
that
film.
sounds like Stephen King writing,
Yeah.
like the way they talk and everything.
Yes, definitely.
Silver Bullet, not a great movie, but it's really watchable to me. Like I'll watch it all the
I
time.
love that
Yes.
one.
I mean, that's definitely
But
a good.
that
love it.
sounds like Stephen
It's
King.
just this flow of it,
Narration,
yes.
everything.
The feel of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? If there was one you wanted to, you
See
think could be remade, done well, what would it be?
He's posing the question to Chris, listening audience.
Yes.
She's currently contemplating the question.
Deep in thought.
Contemplate.
It could be either.
There's been a question whether there was actually constipation.
Disinvited
Or
voices.
A
contemplation.
middle
Peanut
finger was
gallery.
raised and pointed in the direction of the Inquisitor.
Oh, someone is number one.
Number one fan
Number
across
one
the room.
across the room.
She's addressing her fan base.
Christine.
Ooh, that is a good choice.
Yeah.
That is
Yes.
a really good choice.
Absolutely.
But would you do it like they did with the Transformers and make it a new car?
It's the Bumblebee sequel that's
Yeah.
Christine.
I would make them find the car and have the person try to modernize it.
Motorize it?
When they try
Motorize
to
it.
modernize it, every time they put a new part in, it switches back to the old one.
Oh, so it's a new Transformer.
Well, it would, the basis being that no matter how much you try and change her, she would still revert back to still being the original.
No.
Okay.
It would
Yeah.
give new methods of killing.
Okay.
But yeah.
I could go with that.
All right. What about you? Joe. Joe, good evening.
Good evening. Something that I always loved as a kid. I wish that they could maybe tap into something, because I know it's always been a thing having the creature features. But I just don't see how they could remake it. But it'd be interesting if they just got a good team on it and try to do something that ambitious at least. Was the Birds?
They're working on it. It's been announced.
It'd have to be really. It'd have to be.
You're going to have to find someone as good as Tippi Hedren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the lady from Psycho? Maybe she's available.
And Hedge.
And Hayes, yes.
You about to eat a microphone there, my friend.
Yes.
I'm with her.
If
You're
you
about
really
to
want to get on
die?
Heather's good side, tell her that the theme song should be Baby Shark.
Oh, Jesus.
The slow melodic
The blood's
version
Yes.
gonna flow,
for
people.
stalking.
With the birds.
And the bodies are going to hit the floor.
Do, 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 do.
I'm done.
But no, as far as things are
Heather, I got you back. I got an alibi already for
they're
you.
being remade or continued on. I just I haven't finished it, but I really liked. They came back with Twin Peaks, and that was detective horror, supernatural.
That should have never been remade.
That wasn't remade.
It wasn't remade.
died.
It was extended.
It's the next season, but
It should die.
I like Lynch.
I do too. My dog is named after Twin Peaks.
They're lynchers. Yeah.
Yeah, so my choice is the Birds if it's done right, but something like that, something just your kind of old school creature feature.
Campy.
campy.
But I mean, but just like, you know, when you talk about movies that are absolutely in my wheelhouse, my favorite, Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom. It was about as dark as you could get for that time. You know, they didn't push it full R, but you didn't need to. Push it as dark as they could, but it was silly. It was campy. It was fun. It was adventure. Just anything like that. So, yeah, campy, but I mean, they tried really hard with Birdemic. That was pretty close to being perfect. But you know, maybe next time they'll go.
So we have one vote for remaking The People Under the Stairs. I guess.
Yeah.
I like The People Under the Stairs.
It's a good movie.
One of my favorites is The People Under the Stairs.
It's Wes Craven.
Just letting you know, because you don't know these things, Joe.
It's Wes
You need to
Craven.
know.
But it was just like, you know,
He was talking silly and dark. Like that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Very underrated film.
Very.
That would be Leather and Lace.
What?
Black Leather and Lace.
No, Arsenic and Lace.
Arsenic and Black Lace.
There you
Arsenic
go.
and Black Lace. Okay.
Both versions. The black and white version and the remake. They were both stupid.
Well, I have heard that they are working on remaking Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things.
Okay.
But you better get some Pampers.
Can't believe I peed myself.
Oh, wait a minute.
Peed my pants.
I don't think Paul was with us for
He wasn't.
that showing.
I have one that needs to be
We
remade.
watched that at midnight here.
I have an entire director's canon that's ripe for remake, and I'm going to irritate somebody in the listening base when I say this, but Lucio Fulci, everything he did, like you can
My
like,
God.
The Beyond.
Joe just
the
walks
Beyond
away.
is a great. The Beyond is a great set piece, but something about the general tone and mood and speed of that movie just doesn't translate these days. And like some of those death scenes carry on forever, and it kills the momentum and the suspense. And it's like, and like most people, the outside of the horror faithful do not watch Fulci movies.
No.
That's
so
a shame.
You could do well, House by the Cemetery. I really like. I'll give you that one. But there's like kind of, I don't know if it's problems in like translation, because most of them are dubbed from the original Italian and everything like that. But there's something about tone and everything that kind of comes off. It's kind of off.
Right.
And he's got good concepts for every one of his films.
We need to take like a classic horror movie and dub it like they do the
bad lip reading.
the kung fu movies.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
like where you see their lips moving, and then all of a sudden they say something, and then, like, the monster gets them, and all of a sudden, like, after he's being eaten, he's going,
Ah.
You know, I mean, just
So you,
that'd be fantastic.
well, you could just take the dub and turn the timing off.
Yeah.
So we were
5 seconds.
we
or
were talking
5
ones
seconds
that were
slow.
kind of campy and need to be remade. I really, really, really want the Soska sisters to remake Dead Hooker in a Trunk.
Not Frankenhooker.
No, not Frankenhooker.
Heather loves that movie.
But that's one of her favorites.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Frankenhooker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exploding hookers everywhere.
There's one that I don't want them to ever touch.
Don't touch it.
Don't touch it ever. We're making it. Make another sequel, fine, but just don't ever try to change as Reanimator. I think that one was
They
something
have
like,
redone Reanimator, haven't they?
Mm-mm.
No?
it's like, but it seems like, okay, they do the sequels and they're more outrageous and crazy, and I love the sequels.
I like that the tone of all the three Reanimator movies is different, like each time.
Yeah.
Like Bride of Reanimator does not feel like Reanimator,
No.
does not feel like Beyond.
But just like trying to remake the Carpenter films and the Reanimator films, they're good the way they are.
Chris
Do something
actually
else.
watched Reanimator for the first time the other night.
That was hilarious. Just the head between the thighs. That was just so funny. And I love the little paper pusher part where he stands that up. That was hilarious.
Honestly, the funniest thing in that entire movie to me is Jeffrey Combs breaking pencils.
Yes.
The intensity on his face. If he could break that pencil.
Anyways, there's no way that anyone could ever... I'm sorry.
I'm like, where the fuck is he getting all these pencils from? He just has a stash in his pocket.
Next time, I suggest you get a pen.
So yeah, I mean they're great, and just 2 was really good, but 3 was just my favorite, just because it was just like through caution to the wind. They did their thing, they had fun with it, and I think that's it showed.
Got a mouse versus genitalia fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was glorious. I mean,
but yeah, remakes, reboots, good, bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, let's remake that.
Let's remake that.
That's a horror movie.
that's what I said. Don't do that.
Okay.
Let's make it a miniseries.
Right.
And,
So,
Jeff
We'll make
Bridges
it
will
a
play all
Iranian.
parts.
No, we'll
Jeff
make
Bridges
it.
will play all parts.
We'll take
watch
the
it,
good,
but I
bad, and the
won't
ugly, and we'll turn it into Iranian spaghetti western.
Oh. So
Iranian?
a girl walks
Iranian.
home alone at night.
That's right.
So there's going to be a lot of finger sucking.
Yes,
Shudder
lots
calls
of
that
it.
Persian.
Well, it's Iranian if anywhere else you look.
Okay. So if you've got a favorite remake, reboot, or one you'd like to see made, or any comment about this, you can catch us on any of our social media, and you can check that out over at fearcentral.net. We've got all the links there. We've got a whole giant list of topics for you this season, and we'll contemplate which one we do next.
Yeah.
All right. So we will catch y'all again next week, and as always,
Stay scary.
stay scared.